use their computers to do market segmentation data and model consumer behavior. So now instead of just having note cards on what your family might do, now we really know what your family's going to do. And we can get that diaper ad just when the baby's coming out of the hooter there. We're going to have a diaper ad, right in front of you. Don't worry, it's going to be there. We're going to get them. And they consider this out-of-the-box thinking. This is not out-of-the-box thinking, in the good sense. It is out-of-the-box thinking in, say, take the example of the dumbwaiter, right? Thomas Jefferson. He didn't invent it, but he improved it. Let's call him the inventor of it for history's sake. Here's a guy who's upset by the fact that he sees his sweating, dirty slaves coming up into his dining room with the food and putting the plates. This is a guy who we know didn't like the fact that he kept slaves, right? He called it having a wolf by the ears. He didn't really want them, but he had them anyway. He felt terrible about the slaves. So the in-the-box solution to that is to think, slavery makes me feel bad. Maybe I should look at this institution of slavery and deal with it now. The out-of-the-box solution is dumbwaiter. The slaves will stay down in the basement cooking, and then I just pull up this thing. I don't have to see them. Which is what the dumbwaiter is for. It's what most industrial age convenience stuff is for. It's to separate you from the reality that you're not wanting to look at. And eventually, it comes home to roost. And that's the way we're looking at the internet, right? As a way to compensate for what we've lost, rather than a way to move into a very, what I think is a much more hopeful and easier way to go about business and to do your enterprises. Now, I honestly do believe that we are in the midst of a new renaissance, and all of the innovations of the original Renaissance have, I believe, great corollaries in our Renaissance. The original Renaissance had perspective painting. This one has the holograph. The original Renaissance had the first extended sonnet, the first extended metaphor. We have hypertext, which allows everything to be a metaphor of anything else. First Renaissance, we circumnavigate the globe. Second Renaissance, we orbit the globe. First Renaissance, we have calculus. Today's Renaissance, we get chaos math and new physics. First Renaissance, we have the printing press. This Renaissance, we have the internet. The difference, though, between this first Renaissance and ours today is, while the first Renaissance really took people and turned them into readers, it turned them into interpreters, turned them into people with perspectives. This Renaissance turns people into authors, into creators, into people who now have an ability to broadcast. For all of its beauty, the printing press was only available to a few people, right? You didn't have one of these in your basement. You couldn't just disseminate. The internet everybody's got, or everybody, rich and white in America has. In a Renaissance period, repressed ideas end up being reborn. That's why they're called Renaissance. Renaissance, rebirth. The original Renaissance, what was reborn? The Greek ideals of the individual, and logic, and competition. What gets reborn in this Renaissance? The stuff that got repressed then when they were burning all the witches and getting rid of all the pagans and killing all the complementary currencies. What was reborn in the original Renaissance was competition. What gets reborn in this one is collaboration. What was reborn in the original Renaissance was centralized currency and artificial scarcity. What gets reborn in this one is complementary currencies and economic theories that support abundance. Wouldn't that be wild? If we had an economic theory that supported abundance, we'd be able to use renewable resources. The reason we can't use renewable resources is not because we don't have the technology to use renewable resources, it's because we don't have an economic model that supports renewable resources, because we're still commodities-based. The original Renaissance divided people. This Renaissance allows people to collaborate and unite again.